The last week, we were preparing our testing library for Surfy, and in the meantime, in addition to the refactoring we did last time to API, to user-facing API, we renamed test suites to just suites, and also did some like internal improvements of the runtime representation for tests, asserts, and suites. After that, off stream, I also moved everything related to the test definition API to a separate namespace. And you can see now it's very tiny. It's just exports without any dependencies. And the only Guile specific thing here left is just procedure properties that I use for test discoveries. I don't know a better way yet for making test suites discoverable, but it's good enough for Guile. It's actually quite good solution for Guile, but it's not portable to other schema implementations. Maybe when we will be finishing Surfy for test definition API, we will fix it. But in addition to this improvement of test definition API and like organizing and moving it into a separate model, I did some other important improvement to the library, and it is a test runner configuration. Okay, I can't find the commit for it, but what basically test runner configuration allows us to do. First of all, it allows to change the behavior. We can specify the test runner. We can specify the default test run configuration in the form of a list, and for now it contains only one parameter, which is after run, which means that we immediately run tests and test suites after they get evaluated and they get loaded. However, we can disable it, and the tests and test suites will only be loaded without executing, and execution will require additional step. It doesn't make much sense out of the box if you use it in REPL or some other environment which is not tightly integrated with the library, but as you will see later, it makes a lot of sense if you have a better integration into your IDE. But it not that important at the moment. The most important part is that we have a run configuration. For now, you can specify the default one, and also you can update it during the runtime, because it is stored in atomic box inside test runner, which is accessible through the get state method, and we can change it and see how it performs. But before going deeper into the details of test runner configuration, let's discuss the goals for today's stream. Ideally, I would like to implement some kind of UI for changing the test runner configuration, so we can dynamically and conveniently adjust the behavior of the test runner. For example, we would like to run only previously failed tests, or we would like to clean all loaded tests, or we would like to avoid after execution and make tests to be only loaded on evaluation. And all those things will be controlled through this UI. Also, test filtering, test sorting, and other stuff will be somewhere around this UI. Maybe it will be a part of test runner configuration, maybe it will be slightly separate UIs, we will see later. But for now, we need a basic foundation for this UI, and probably we will use transient for it, and basic Emacs maps. So it won't be any complicated, will be quite simple and straightforward, and will contain just a couple options at the moment. And as always, you can ask questions, say hello, and do other cool stuff in the chat or in IRC. I read it from time to time, so come and join the stream. Okay. I will execute tests to make sure that everything works. We have no errors and no failures for our testing library. So I'm sure that after refactoring I didn't break anything and we are on a working version of our library. And as you can see, I run the tests in CLI, and like the primary reason for this library is to make it possible to rerun tests in runtime. But I still use CLI. How ironic it is. But there's some reasons for it. Testing the library using its own is quite complicated, and to be sure that we don't have any state affecting the tests, sometimes I restart all the tests through the CLI, and also I clean up all the possible cache, as you can see here. So it takes a bit more time, but I'm sure that there is no stale macros or stale function definitions affecting the results of the tests. Okay, going back to our test runner and to our state of the test runner. When I evaluate namespace, we have our test runner here, and we can get its state. And as you can see at the moment, it contains only run config. Run config, not very descriptive name. Maybe it should be test run config or execution config or whatever. I will need to come up with more meaningful name. Don't know yet, but if you have ideas, please share them with me. I'm available in Fediverse, emails, and even in YouTube comments. I read them from time to time and reply. But my preferred way of communication probably is email, because it's asynchronous and like I can find a time suitable for me to process like a lot of emails, and it's much more efficient and careful to my attention. Careful, maybe different word. Good, careful, something in between for the attention. Yep. Anyway, we have a pretty simple configuration at the moment, which contains after run equal to true. And that means if we have a test suite and we evaluate this test suite, we get an exception because we don't have anything inside this assertion and it violates the syntax. When we evaluate a test suite, you can see what happens here. It immediately executed, and if I evaluate it one more time, it gets executed one more time. Now I can call set run config value and change the after run to false, like this. And now you can see if you get a state again, oh, it's a lot of stuff because it's a lot of loaded tests in the state, but we can get run configuration, like to extract a particular key. And inside our run configuration, you see we have after run equal to false right now. And now when I evaluate suite, it only loaded and it shows the hierarchy, but it not executed. The same happens to the test. It gets loaded but not executed. So far, so good. Let's add one more key to the configuration first. So we have like at least couple keys that we can wrap into UI. And this one will be quite long. Clean loaded tests on bootload. Like this. Oof. Very long but quite descriptive. For now, when you load new suite, the previous test remains in the list of loaded tests. But in my opinion, if you load the whole suite, you already have some kind of hierarchy, and it makes sense to clean up all the loaded tests and load only tests from this suite. Because if you would like to have the previous tests available for you, you will probably put them into a different suite that you can include in the current one and load the current one. So if you operating on tests, it makes sense to add them up into your test runner, right? Because you defined one test, you defined the second test, and you don't want to persist it yet. You just loaded them and you operate on them. So it makes sense to have like a few versions of the same test or a few different tests to be loaded at the same time and to add it. But for the test suites, it's not that relevant. So anyway, we add this option, so this behavior is configurable. And now let's implement it. And in our load suite, before actually loading, when we need a get run config value, and this will be this one. Okay, we just update with pass and scheduled. It can lead to some issues. First of all, we need to ensure that we don't have any suite pass, so we are in the top level test suite. This is the first thing that we need to make sure of. And if we update atomic list value. Actually, I have a special function for this one, I guess. Somewhere here. Define reset loaded test state, right? Right. Update atomic list value. Like this. Loaded test. Boom. Empty. Reset loaded test. Now go back, and here we just call it reset loaded test. Okay. And now let's take a look at our state right now. In addition to after run, we have our new value, and when we evaluate tests 2 times, they get immediately executed, as you can see. And when we get the state, let's be a bit more precise. Get state atomic box ref, and let's use chain take state. We do atomic box ref, and after that we do assoc ref of the value loaded tests, right? Now we have a list of loaded tests, and now we need only length of it. So we have 2 loaded tests, and if we execute them few more times, it will be 5. Now, okay, you see, I got an exception, and it's pretty much obvious what is happening here. Wrong number of arguments, so probably I missed some arguments. And I go through the stack and see that on this line I have a missing state. So I just added it, and now it should work just fine. Now let's repeat our process. Chain or 0. Okay, 0. We have 0 loaded tests. Now let's add few more to the state, 4 loaded tests. And now let's evaluate the whole suite, and let's see the number of loaded tests. 1. Okay, our functionality implemented correctly, probably good enough. Let's make sure that when we restart tests, nothing gets broken. Good. I have a code. This one. Run suites. Who uses run suites? Run test suites. Oops. I will explain what the problem I'm trying to solve. The problem is following, that when we have a few suites defined, for example, in the model, it's a list of suites. And when I run them with this option, the first suite get loaded and get executed if after execution is set. The second suite get loaded, but the previous one got erased because on every new tweet loading, we reset the list of loaded tests, which can be problematic, but we address it later. For now, we just add this option so we can experiment with our UI as suitable. Add loaded test and good enough message. Actually, I would mention only this one, run config, and about reset loaded tests. Also add the reset loaded test, because the second function is auxiliary, whatever it is, and we don't even export it, so nobody cares. Hello, Milmike. So many brackets. What language is it? Clojure? It's Guile. His piece is right, it's Guile. It's a scheme dialect used in geeks. Actually, I came from a Clojure background, and as a language, in terms of design, simplicity, composability, expressiveness, Clojure is like so delicious. It's probably one of the best existing languages. However, the fact that it works on JVM and some restrictions of JVM and some like not polished parts of Clojure and its relation to JVM and the fact that JVM is hard to bootstrap, it's a bit hungry for resources and so on and so forth, makes it not the best target for implementing package managers and other, fundamental things. And people who are working or who worked on geeks decided to pick a scheme, and more precisely Guile for it. And one of the reasons I'm writing in Guile right now is because I was using Nix and later geeks, and yeah, basically I extended geeks home, the project, and like spent overall a lot of time with geeks and had to write in scheme. And I have mixed feelings. On one hand, it's not that expressive as Clojure. On the other hand, it very well specified with RnRS or scheme reports, and it's quite lean, so it doesn't have too much unnecessary stuff around, but it's a bit more verbose and older, and it doesn't have some cool stuff, and it doesn't have polymorphism for some functions. For example, you have vector map and just map for lists. It doesn't have literals for vectors, hash maps, and other data structure. It doesn't have immutable data structures out of the box. So it lacks in many areas, and it lacks in terms of libraries available for it. For example, there is no good markdown parser. They like a few, One of them is outdated and kind of incomplete for everyday usage. Another one are too new and also may not be complete, but we will need to check it soon, I guess. So if you want to just start doing some crazy development, web development or whatever, Clojure is wonderful. If you need a language that is not yet here, but a very good and solid foundation, I think the Guile and Scheme in general is good option. And with a lot of effort and with growing popularity through the gigs, I guess Scheme will become a very competitive language for many usages, including web development and all other stuff. Junk project C in progress. Clojure dialect hosted an LLVM. Oh, it sounds nice. However, right now, I think I am more interested in extending Scheme to get the same convenience and capabilities and expressiveness of Clojure rather than on using a different Clojure dialect. Oops, this is the wrong one. LVM projects Clojure. Junk. Sorry. I thought project C like project Explorer or something. Okay, I see. There's another Clojure dialect. Like there are a few Clojure dialects. One of them is for Lua. The Fennel language by a guy who created Atreus keyboard and Leiningen for Clojure. I forgot his name. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Atreus keyboard, Technomacy and I guess Phil. Are there any contacts? Technomancy. Yes, Phil Hagelberg. Hagelberg made a Fennel dialect, Clojure for Lua, and there's another one called Sharp. Clojure, not Sharp. Let me statically type Carp. I guess it's Carp. If Clojure and Rust had a baby, kind of. This one is very much looks like a Clojure, but it's a different language, and I guess you will feel the difference if you use it. And unfortunately, it seems it's not very actively developed at the moment. But like, it's a lot of attempts to make a better Clojure. But at the moment, I think that due to the fact that we have a very nice specification of Scheme language and R7RS large is work in progress, and I hope someday will be finished. It's good to rely on a Scheme as a foundation and bring the stuff from Clojure, which makes Clojure great, to the Scheme. And why I'm like so keen for the Scheme at the moment, because it has continuations and it has macros. I don't really like macros for many reasons. I think something like f expressions will be better. Maybe I need to research this topic more. But the macros are not composable, they're like a lot of problems, they are not available in runtime, so it's not a first-class citizen in the language. It's basically a compile time abstraction. And I would like to have something better, but still the macros and hygienic macros in Scheme are powerful enough to introduce new syntaxes and to extend the language without modifying the compiler itself. And it's two-edged sword, but mostly I'm glad that we have such flexibility and freedom to do so. It's two-edged sword because on one hand you can extend language without changing the compiler, so it means you can ship a library which extends the syntax of the language. On the other hand, it means that people tend to reinvent DSLs and invent their own type of scheme using those libraries, which can be like hard to use, hard to transfer your knowledge to this area, but we can discuss it some other day. And the second reason why I prefer Scheme, it has continuations, and continuation is very powerful control flow mechanism, and more importantly, it's a high level and first class citizen control flow mechanism. So with macros and continuations, you basically can implement whatever functionality you want in the language. Of course, it can have some performance penalties, and overall Scheme probably not the fastest language. But talking about performance usually doesn't make sense. In most in most cases, the bottleneck is a person and his capability to reason and maintain and develop system, rather than the raw performance of the language execution and all that stuff. So I guess we are quite good here, and it's definitely a good foundation we can build on top. And if someday we hit by a performance problem or problems, we can re-implement the language, having like all the knowledge we already tried with macros and continuations and all fancy approaches that we implemented with those, and do like a better language on top of our experience. In other languages you won't get those experience because they don't have enough freedom for the extension. Okay, a bit off topic actually. We need to go back to the test runner configuration UI. For this, I will need to open a new Emacs instance with Arei and Arei testing. We already have this small file test. Oh, we have also Arei test. We have two files actually. I created the first one a while ago, and after that I created a new one, and one of them is testing and another one is test. I guess testing sounds good. And also we have logging, macro expansion, model, testing. Yeah, probably testing is okay. Okay, I will copy this functionality. This functionality is already creates a transient menu, and we will use it. Require transient, put it here. Now we will need to do a small refactoring. How to substitute in the region? Okay, I just substitute array test to array. Boom. I hope everything substituted correctly, and we can just eval the model and everything will work. But before doing so, let's take a brief look at what we have here. Here we have a few flags. Plain array testing rerun plain, blah 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 blah. Do you hear this annoying sound of somebody making the same announcement on the repeat about banbao, banbao? Does my microphone capture it? Okay, what we have here? We have two flags, -p, -f, and we have a command for rerun plain, rerun with flags, array testing loaded tests count, and all that things. Okay, and we have array transient, array testing menu. Good. Let's put it under Ctrl M hotkey, and it will be array transient, array testing menu. Okay. When I will evaluate it, it won't change much, because here Ctrl C, Ctrl T, right? And I evaluate the buffer, Ctrl C, Ctrl T remains the same. How to reload the key map? If map find key map, devar key map, map set. Key map unset map and current first name. I don't need to set those parameters, right? Can just this. Okay, and I can do set opt array up. And now array value, and its value is right, but why it's not stated? What am I doing wrong? Anybody have any clue how to like redefine a key map? Should be not that hard. Okay, we won't spend any more time on it. We will go to RD project, we'll open it and we'll do reconfigure. This will build a new version of Arei, which will contain this entry in keymap. And after that, when we have it loaded, we can just redefine the value of the function itself, and we will still have access to the function we will be developing. In the meantime, array testing menu. This is how menu looks. You can see like some information about currently loaded tests, about switches or configuration options that are set, and a few actions. That's all we need. It's enough. Oh, I have a spider in my room, and he's jumping, and he have white how we call it, stuff for biting. He has so discrete movements, like they're not smooth, they're like very fast. Impressive. Impressive movement skills. Okay. While we rebuilding the stuff, we will start cleaning up the functionally related to the test running. Temporary, I implemented it inside logging extension, not a separate one. So we need to create a new model, which will be testing SCM. And now we need a simpler heading. Yes, evaluation. Where's the example of simpler headings? In suitbl, right? Right. Testing. No. Testing SCM. Testing SCM. Okay. here we go, and it will be 2025 logging. Now let's make a definition, RS testing. Let's actually copy paste everything from login here, and we will remove unnecessary stuff. When the time comes, we don't need this one. Logging, testing, run test, just run. Okay, just run, Vasya, run, fine, run. Run, just code it, runner. Okay, and let's see what we have. Oh, it's finished. By the way, what the heck? Current capacity. What the... Okay, operations run, blah blah blah. Let's see, RS testing handler. Well, provides testing, requires blah blah. Array context, messages, state. Actually, we are not interested in state operation. We already have context. Alright. Don't need this one. That's basically it. operation function when operation function text context handler okay, sounds good. Format, don't need this probably this one. Chain, no. We have select keys, socref once. Okay, now we will close the whole Emacs and we will close this one. We need to restart the Emacs to get loaded a new version of Arei, to have a transient menu that we will be developing. Logging, pasting, and let's RnRS. Still compiles, very nice. Let's take a logging and let's remove all these things. Actually, we can just do this. Okay, we removed all stuff related to test execution, and now server extensions RS logging RS testing. Now let's restart. Boom. Define with meta. Extensions. From how it called extension. Good. So good so far. Now open suitbl, connect to an REPL, eval, and Ctrl C, Ctrl T, Ctrl T. Why we got interrupted? it works. Let's check that test get executed. But our extension returns interrupted. Why it's interrupted? Interesting. We miss something. Run tests. Let's run this one. Works. Okay, it seems something wrong with my charger at the moment. So I guess I need to finish a stream before we actually finish the integration and to find out what is happening with my charger. Unfortunate, a bit unfortunate, but anyway, I am already tired because it's too hot here, and my laptop is tired as well. So we finished today's streams on this particular point when we already have a basic UI like this, and we will implement the data points, the API that will be populating all the information about the loaded, selected tests, test configuration into this UI. Maybe on next stream, or maybe I will do it off stream and will show it on the stream. But anyway, we implemented UI. It was actually implemented before, but we put the stuff together and clean up some stuff to make it almost work. And yep, we'll continue work on it on the next stream. Thank you for joining. Oh, hello Lucas, happy to be there live. Unfortunately, I'm already finishing. You just came at the moment when I'm finishing, because I have something with my battery capacity, and probably it will disconnect any second. So thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah, we'll see you next time. See you in a bit. Bye.